Anti-aging creams. Can anything get rid of wrinkles? What's hidden away in all that fine print? Is anyone checking to see if these products are safe? And is there any proof they work, or is it all just false hope and empty promises? What's really in my anti-aging creams? Years ago, very few of us had even heard of anti-aging products, but suddenly they're everywhere. Globally, it's an estimated $80 billion a year industry. But what I want to know is what makes something an anti-aging cream? I mean, are they just fancy moisturisers, or is there more to them than that? Every woman knows that using moisturiser minimises wrinkles.
One way that moisturisers work is they smooth the skin. It's like putting polyfill on cracks on a wall. It just makes it feel nice and smooth.
But we also know this effect is temporary.
Even if you continue using it for 5 years, 4 hours after your last application, you're back to where you were before using them.
Anti-aging creams claim to be different by making long-lasting changes to our skin. To find out if they really work, I need to know exactly what they're up against. I'm on my way to Auckland University's Bioengineering Department to look at the effect of ageing on skin. Meet the 3 guinea pigs. Doreen, aged 87. Yours truly, a lot younger than that. And Caitlin, aged 16. I'm up first.
Okay, Petra, this is the experimental rig where we'll do our tests.
Okay.
So
Dr. Cormac Flynn is going to measure the difference in the strength of our skin.
move along. So first of all, I'm just going to put some super glue on the tip of the probe here of our micro robot.
So you're basically super gluing a small robot to my arm. He's custom built a whole robot just to measure skin's incredibly complex properties. Its probe is loaded with sensors that record how my skin responds to its tiny movements. So it would be truthful to say that I'd been probed by a robot today. The question is, will Doreen's 87-year-old skin really respond differently? And finally, 16-year-old Caitlin. Oh, this is so unfair. Look at her. She's positively glowing with youthfulness. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Can you tell us the results?
Yeah, we got the test results in. So we got our 3 volunteers, Caitlin, yourself and Doreen.
Why is one so much longer than the other?
Why is Doreen short on the graph as well as in real life? She wants to know.
That's what I wanted to say.
What we find with yourself, Doreen, as we moved the probe, there wasn't much force required, so the line on the graph stays quite low. What's notable is Caitlin required the most force.
So it takes more force to move Caitlin's skin?
The skin in our body is in tension, and generally the younger we are, the greater the tension is in our skin.
So those results show that Caitlin has the tautest skin. Okay, it's hardly surprising. The 16-year-old has tauter skin than the granny, and I'm somewhere in between. But look at the size of the difference. Caitlin's skin is 3 times as strong as Doreen's. What could account for the difference?
The major component of aging is what's happening to our collagen. Now, collagen is very important because that gives us the structural strength to our skin.
Collagen is a protein which is made in the dermis, the middle layer of our skin. Like the springs of a mattress, collagen fibres give young skin strength and resilience. But as we get old, we start to lose our collagen and our skin loses its strength. And the result of that is wrinkles.
With natural aging, you get a 10% reduction in the amount of collagen your skin produces.
But exposure to the sun's UV or smoking can increase collagen loss to 40% or more. And until a discovery 25 years ago, there was no way to get it back.
Retinoic acid was originally developed for the treatment of acne, and it's a pharmaceutical product available from your GP or dermatologist. In the last 15-20 years, it was recognised that it also had anti-aging effects and is now being used widely for this purpose.
Even today, retinoic acid is considered the gold standard for anti-aging treatments.
Its main action is in the mid-layer of the skin, the dermis, where it increases collagen formation quite significantly. With continued use over 6 months, you probably do get a 10 to 20% improvement in most of those clinical signs of aging.
Although it's available on prescription, it's not subsidised, so it's still a pricey option and does have some side effects. Many people find continued use quite irritating.
10-15% of people, the skin becomes red and inflamed and peels.
Retinoic acid has some over-the-counter relatives that are much less irritating. They're known as retinoids.
There's retinol, there's retinol esters, there's a whole raft of these chemicals which, when absorbed in the skin, will become, to a certain extent, retinoic acid.
Here's the theory. You apply a retinol palmitate cream or a retinol cream to your face. Once it's inside your skin, it's transformed into retinoic acid, which boosts collagen production exactly like the prescription stuff. So, does it work in practice? Well, back in 2007, UK scientists showed that Boots No. 7 cream with retinol palmitate did make a difference to a handful of women. When the news broke, it made headlines all over the world, and Boots sold out overnight. Sounds amazing, so we were eager to do our own experiment with retinoid creams. None of us like to age, but can we stop the marching of time? Let me introduce you to Imperial Guards and Kalan. They've agreed to help us put popular retinoid creams to the test, and in 16 weeks' time, we'll find out if any had the power to halt ageing. But there's a little something they don't know. They'll be testing anti-aging cream on just one half of their face. We've secretly given them a plain moisturiser for the other half. That way we can separate out the temporary effect of the moisturising ingredients from any long-term benefit of the retinoids. But first we're marching them off to the photographers to take the before photos. None of these women currently use any anti-aging creams.
Moisturiser would be the most that I would use.
But everyone's hoping to see an improvement.
Yeah, that would be really great to look younger.
12 of our women will be using a cream with retinol palmitate, just like the famous Boots No. 7, and 12 will be testing one with retinol. That's one step closer to retinoic acid, the stuff that actually improves collagen. So, will retinol be more potent? The women will be using their creams once a day, just before bed, and in 16 weeks' time we'll find out if either cream can stop time. They may have been the first, but retinoids are no longer the only show in town. If you have the money, you can get anything from synthetic snake venom to skin cells from infant foreskins. There are dozens of other anti-aging ingredients, with more coming out every few months. The only thing most of them have in common is that they need to penetrate your skin to have an effect. After the break, which ones pass this most basic test?
I predicted that a lot of these things wouldn't get across the skin.
And just how much proof is there that the active ingredients are actually active?
You have to take the view that they may not do much at all.
We've seen that prescription retinoic acid can reduce wrinkles, but what about some of the other anti-aging ingredients on the market? Many promise amazing results, but can they deliver? Pharmacologist Barry Finnan has done research in this area, so I've come to Melbourne, Australia to ask him what active ingredients actually get through the skin. Barry has dedicated his career to finding ways to deliver drugs across the skin, and he says it's actually incredibly difficult.
Skin forms a very effective barrier, and it's designed in nature to keep the rest of the world out and to keep us in.
So then how much of a topically applied dose is absorbed by the skin?
Even for drugs that have been designed to be absorbed through the skin, it's only about 5 to 10% that actually gets absorbed. And for many of the cosmetics, it will be much lower than that.
The skin's outermost layer is like bricks and mortar. Dead skin cells are the bricks held together by a mortar of fat. Very little can pass through to the living layers beneath, where it can do some good.
I predicted that a lot of these things wouldn't get across the skin.
Like any good scientists, Barry and his team did some experiments.
We applied these ingredients to the surface of the skin and then measured their penetration through the skin.
One popular class of ingredients they tested were peptides, the hot new thing in anti-aging. Peptides are short chains of amino acids that play many important roles in our bodies. Claims for peptides range from increasing collagen production to antioxidant activity.
Tell me about the peptides you studied.
We were unable to detect any of them getting through the skin at all, where our analysis methods would have been able to detect as little as 0.01% of the applied material.
So although peptides may have all sorts of interesting potential, we have very little proof that they can actually penetrate the skin to get to where they're needed. Barry's team has also experimented with one of the best-selling anti-aging treatments in the world, coenzyme Q10. Also occurring naturally in the body, Q10 is a potent antioxidant that can mop up free radicals before they can do damage to our skin. Q10 levels can be boosted with supplements, but what about when it's applied to the skin?
Unfortunately, coenzyme Q10 in our experiments seems only to get through very, very slowly.
That means you need a lot of Q10 to see the claimed benefit.
Coenzyme Q10 is a very intensely bright orange material.
So according to Barry, an effective Q10 cream should be bright orange too.
Some of them are a bit pinkish, but they're certainly not bright orange, and so they don't contain enough coenzyme Q10 from our experiments in order to deliver the claimed beneficial effects.
Nivea won't reveal how much Q10 their products contain, but they say that their formulations
have proven efficacy against wrinkles. Our substantiated clinical product in use studies gives us much confidence in asserting our Nivea Q10 formulations deliver the beneficial effect of Q10 through the skin.
There is one miracle anti-aging ingredient that works even though it doesn't penetrate the skin. It's called broad-spectrum sunscreen.
One of the really neat things about sunscreens is that they'll actually reverse the damage that sun has caused.
Make sure your sunscreen protects against UVA, which penetrates deep into the skin and damages your collagen.
So we regularly see patients with quite a lot of sun damage, and you put them on good sunscreens and they come back a couple of years later and the skin looks 5-10 years younger. And all they've done is put on a sunscreen.
Sunscreen protects your skin from further damage while it rejuvenates itself. And what about the anti-aging creams in our experiment? You'll be relieved to know that retinoids do penetrate the skin. Time to catch up with our human guinea pigs to see if retinoid is making a difference to them. Kalan and the Imperial Guard have now been using their creams for 6 weeks, diligently applying a retinoid one side and, unbeknownst to them, a plain moisturiser on the other. So how are they finding it?
I did notice my skin was softer after using the creams, but I didn't notice any anti-aging effects.
Which was clearly a disappointment.
I was expected to come out looking like Jane Fonda.
Kalan, on the other hand, have a clear favourite.
We all checked one another's faces out. We all said which cream it was, and it was the green one for all of us.
Oh dear, that's the cream with no anti-aging ingredients. But it's early days yet. We still have 10 weeks to go, so march on. If you want to stimulate your collagen levels, you need to be patient. Even prescription retinoic acid takes 4 months to show a noticeable improvement. So what kind of proof do cosmetic companies have that their over-the-counter products work as advertised?
Okay, we've got this Garnier Ultralift Pro X. Claims on the front it helps stimulate natural collagen production. Asterisk. Turn it around, proven effectiveness. Asterisk. Still searching. Here's the asterisk. Tested in vitro.
Those 2 little words hidden away in the fine print literally mean tested in glass. Think test tubes, not skin.
There's a big difference between what happens in a test tube and what happens on the skin.
Can you really grow new collagen in just 2 hours, as this ad claims? No, not with a cosmetic cream on real skin. But you can when you add the pure active ingredient directly to skin cells in a test tube. That's why the fine print says in vitro testing. Ads like this tell us nothing about how the end product will work on you. So how on earth do they get away with that?
Unfortunately for consumers, you really need to read that fine print because there's not a lot of regulation around these products, and the only fallback they have is to complain to the Advertising Standards Authority if they think the advertising's misleading.
So it's a case of buyer beware. If it sounds too good to be true, it quite possibly is. And if anti-ageing creams were actually proven to work, they'd run the risk of being classified as medicines.
Quite reasonably, the regulators suggest that if you alter the physiology of the skin, then you're no longer a cosmetic, you become a pharmaceutical.
Pharmaceuticals are tested extensively to make sure they have no dangerous side effects, but cosmetics require very little testing.
To go from a concept through to a product on the market with a pharmaceutical, you might be looking at 5 to 10 years. But with a cosmetic product, you would expect 6 to 12 months.
To avoid the time and expense of full-blown pharmaceuticals testing, companies are very careful to keep their claims on the cosmetic side of the line.
So this one here visibly reduces the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles and age spots. It's not saying it will reduce them, it's just the appearance of them.
More serious claims need more serious proof. After the break, the makers of Boots No. 7 take up this challenge with a full-blown clinical trial, and we get the final results from our own anti-ageing experiment. I've discovered that many anti-ageing products only back up their claims with tests done in test tubes, and that doesn't necessarily mean it will work on skin. So what are the incredible skin improvements that many cream manufacturers base their claims on?
This page also talks about impressive proven results. We've got 74% existing lines and wrinkles appear minimised, but we look at the asterisks, go to the bottom of the page. This is actually based on home use consumer tests. So it's nothing in a lab, it's giving it to these women to try and hey, what do you think of the results?
Of course, you can't believe everything you see in a magazine. Last year, an Olay anti-ageing ad was banned in the UK when it was discovered that Twiggy's wrinkles had been digitally retouched. Recently, most of the big companies have been in trouble for misleading advertising, including dodgy claims of clinical proof. But good old Boots No. 7 went the other way. They backed up their initial study with a clinical trial and actually published the results in 2009. Remember, Boots uses the same retinol palmitate active ingredient half our marching women are trialling. So how scientifically proven is my retinol palmitate now? I'm on my way to meet an expert at setting up clinical trials. Dr. Chris Bullen is the man in charge of clinical trials conducted by the University of Auckland. We've asked him to review the paper. So this has been described as the first independent, double-blind, randomised controlled trial of a beauty product. Would you agree with that claim?
Almost. I think there's a question about independence, and that is that one of the investigators was an employee of the Boots company. Having someone on the investigators team who's involved in not only conducting the study but interpreting the results leaves me feeling a little uncomfortable. So secondly, it's a very small study. It only involved 60 people.
That's far fewer than are required to declare a pharmaceutical safe and effective.
Sometimes these studies have hundreds of participants, and some of the ones on cholesterol-lowering medications have got tens of thousands of participants.
The 6-month trial found that 43% of the men and women using the Boots anti-ageing cream saw some improvement in their wrinkles, compared to only 22% of the men and women using a plain moisturiser. So, 21% of people saw an improvement over and above what you'd expect from a moisturiser alone, but the study does not say by how much their wrinkles improved. So what this test result is saying is that 5 people need to use the product for 1 person to have an improvement in their wrinkles, but they don't say what that improvement is?
Yeah, and to me that's not really a great bang for buck. And as a doctor, I wouldn't prescribe a medication to a patient of mine based on one small study that was poorly conducted, or at least poorly reported.
Overall, would you say that they've proven that Boots No. 7 cream is effective against wrinkles?
In a word, no.
Uh-oh, suddenly things are not looking so rosy for our volunteers. Let's find out if either team has given wrinkles their marching orders. We've been testing retinol palmitate and retinol creams for 16 weeks now. So, hi-ho, it's back to the photographers we go. Soon we'll have the expert verdict on the results, but perhaps more importantly, did the women notice any difference themselves?
No. Absolutely not.
I preferred the left side cream.
I haven't noticed any difference.
Most of our volunteers did not notice any difference between their left and right side. And the 4 who did all said the side on which they'd used moisturiser looked better. Oh dear, time to see if the professionals can spot any difference. I've brought the women's photos to the experts at Auckland's Appearance Laser Clinic for independent evaluation. We've asked 3 skin doctors to score the fine lines around the woman's eyes. They're judging before and after photos using a well-established wrinkle scale. In this test, we're all hoping for a low score. 0 means no visible wrinkles, and 3 means, well, it's not so good. Once we subtract the before scores from the afters, we'll find out the improvement for the moisturiser side and the anti-aging cream side of the women's faces. So what were the results? Well, there's really nothing in it, but slightly more women improved on a plain moisturiser than on the 2 anti-aging creams combined. So what do you think about those results?
Very surprising, very surprising. I was really quite amazed at how well the moisturising base did when compared against the active cream.
Don't you think, Tim, that's just shows that all 3 of the products have moisturiser in, and that the moisturising effect of plumping up the skin is what we're seeing there?
Absolutely.
And probably the active ingredient isn't of a high enough concentration to actually have its desired effect.
So the best conclusion we can draw from this small study, all of the products are acting as moisturisers.
Absolutely, yeah.
Given the lack of clear evidence that anti-aging creams are effective, we asked the industry why they think we should have confidence in them.
Consumers can have absolute confidence in the anti-aging products that are in the market because the companies themselves do a huge amount of research and development, but they don't put it out into the public domain simply because they don't really want that information to be in the hands of all of their competitors.
So although anti-aging creams make scientific-sounding claims, published proof that they work is almost non-existent. So don't believe everything you read in a glossy magazine, because the devil is definitely in the fine print. Personally, I'm not convinced that anti-aging creams are really more than fancy moisturisers. But I will make sure to use a good sunscreen. Hair removal by razor, wax or depilatory cream. But should we be worried that some aftershaves contain a chemical found in cow's urine? And depilatory creams contain caustic soda, which is used in paint stripper. And are we getting ripped off with high-tech razors boasting 5 blades? What's really in our shaving and hair removal kit? Hair grows everywhere on our bodies except our lips, the palms of our hands and the soles of our feet. Over the rest of our bodies, hair is constantly sprouting. Oh, but in most cases, it's not that noticeable. That's because much of it is the fine, downy vellus hair, which we women have a lot of on our bodies. Generally, men have more of the stiff, bristly stuff, which is called terminal hair. But all of us have it as hair on our heads and under our arms and in other bits. And while terminal hair on humans has been all the rage for the last 6 million years, these days it's decidedly unpopular. Where is it okay for women to have hair?
Yeah, and eyebrows, I suppose. Under the arms, it's fine, I suppose, yeah. Legs, probably not so nice, yeah.
Hits?
No.
Toes?
Marginal, but no.
No surprise that men don't find hairy women attractive, but what about women and hairy men? Tell me, do you find facial hair on men attractive?
Yes, I do actually.
No way.
Absolutely.
Yes?
Very sexy.
Not like a full-grown beard, and definitely not a moustache.
Oh, no.
Facial hair does tend to make men look older. Men today who tend not to have so much facial hair do tend to maintain a more kind of seemingly youthful appearance.
But it's not just about facial hair.
I don't really like the chest hair, like they're wearing a jumper or back.
Where else on a body is it okay for a man to have hair, in your opinion?
Not many other places, actually. Just the face.
We have shifted to seeing the natural adult female body as a hairless body, and increasingly the natural adult male body as one that doesn't have much body hair.
Dr. Virginia Brown believes there's been a significant shift in the way we view body hair.
I think body hair is considered dirty. considered unattractive, considered unhygienic in our contemporary society.
And it shows. Last year alone, New Zealanders spent roughly $45 million on razor blades and $10 million on shaving preparations. Those figures don't include electric razors, which are probably the simplest option for removing body hair.
Some people will find an electric shave beneficial, and that's probably because it's not quite so close a shave, so it's not causing quite so much damage to the skin surface itself.
So for those of us who like the ultra smooth look, the wet shave is the most popular method, and the first step in the wet shave is to lather up.
You can use hand soaps to form a lather and shave with, but hand soaps don't contain the same quantities of lubricants and wetting agents that enable you to get that nice smooth shave.
There's an immense range of shaving soaps on the market, and they fall into three groups: creams, foams and gels. So what's the difference between a gel and a foam?
So we've got two products here, a shaving foam, also a shaving gel.
Okay, the gel's blue and the foam's white, so they're really different, or are they?
If we just rub it slightly, you can see it changing. Bubbles of gas are starting to appear and it's been converted into a foam. So these two formulations are in fact both foams.
Shaving creams have more of a toothpaste consistency.
It has all the important ingredients that are required to give you a nice smooth shave, but it doesn't have the components that easily convert into a gas that cause the bubbles that give a shaving foam.
For women, shaving gel is more common than shaving foam. As to which works best, well, they're all so similar that it comes down to personal preference. So what's really in these shaving preparations, and how safe are the ingredients? For a start, what are humectants?
These are substances which trap water, and they're there to make the beard feel softer and easier to cut.
A commonly used humectant is glycerin, which is widely recognised as being safe to use. But there's one humectant used in shaving products that sometimes gets a bad rap: propylene glycol. Internet hype about propylene glycol suggests it's the same chemical that's used in car antifreeze.
That is a different compound called ethylene glycol, and propylene glycol, which is used in small quantities in the shaving creams and foams, is perfectly safe.
Shaving formulations also contain lubricants.
They help the blade glide over the skin.
A common lubricant is mineral oil, derived from crude oil.
It is considered extremely safe. It is very inert. It doesn't react with many other substances, and it's also tasteless and odorless, and that's why it's used extensively in many cosmetics.
Another lubricant is lanolin. Lanolin is a wax produced by sheep and can be an allergen.
Some people can be sensitive to lanolin, being an irritant on their skin, but those are very few people, and the dosages that is used is very small.
Likewise, triethanolamine is found in low concentrations in a number of shaving foams, gels and creams. Triethanolamine is a surfactant, which means it makes the foam or gel spread easier, but it is a mild skin and eye irritant with a potentially more serious downside.
It does have the potential to break down or to react to form compounds we call nitrosamines.
Some nitrosamines have been shown to be cancer-causing when they're produced inside the body from eating various preserved foods. However, with shaving products, the nitrosamines are outside the body on the skin. So are they a problem?
The chances of these nitrosamines penetrating the skin is very small. The skin acts as a very good barrier to the external world and prevents many substances from entering the body.
Most shaving products also contain fragrances which can cause an allergic reaction. The European Union requires certain fragrances to be specified on the label. However, it's not required here, so people with fragrance allergies should avoid products bearing the words fragrance or parfum. Hair actually grows at different rates all over our body. Hair on our chin grows fastest, followed by scalp hair, then underarm hair, with leg hair bringing up the rear, if you get my drift. So with all that hair constantly growing, we need some serious weaponry to keep it under control. Of the 1.7 billion men in the world who shave, 400 million do it with an electric shaver, but the 1.3 billion majority use a blade of some description. The disposable razor blade was invented in 1901. Before that, men shaved with one of these, a cut-throat razor. And now, ta-da, the super high-tech razor. But is one of these really any better than one of these, a cheap disposable? To test this, I've pulled in some discerning dancers to find the smoothest shave. For them, it's the trimmings, the finer flourishes, and attention to detail that can be the difference between winning and losing. A bad shave could spell disaster on the dance floor. We have 8 unshaven male dancers. Each of them will trial 2 razors, using one on one side of the face and one on the other. It's shaving time, and these are the 4 razors we will be testing. A Schick disposable with 2 blades, a Gillette Mark III with 3 blades, a top-of-the-line Schick Quattro with 4, and the Gillette Fusion with a whopping 5. Who could possibly judge such a crucial experiment? Their toughest critics, their dance partners.
Dance partners definitely prefer a shave. They don't like the stubble.
I've had an uneven shave before, yeah, and my dance partner told me about that.
It's time to hit the floor. The guys' dance partners will compare the smoothness of each side of their partner's face. Which razor will take out the smoothest shave, and how many blades will it be? We'll find out later in the program. After the break, should we be concerned about alcohol in aftershave?
In fact, they probably can create a little bit of damage to the skin.
And is colour important in razors?
Pink is sharper than purple.
Remember, I'm on a journey into the world of hair removal. We've got some ballroom dancers doing a hot and steamy trial of razors that should tell us which razor gives the best shave. But I'm also keen to analyse the different components of a razor. First, the blades. Andrew Uwejan is a metal expert, and we've asked him to test our razors to find the sharpest and hardest wearing blade.
Teeny tiny thin blade.
Each blade is thinner than standard printing paper. To determine a blade's sharpness, Andrew measures the angle of the cutting edge.
What it is it's the resistance to cutting. So a blade with a very narrow angle has got less resistance to cutting.
Slices through
exactly right.
Because they're so fine, Andrew uses a microscope to measure the blade angle of each razor. One of the razors is a Gillette razor for women.
Oh, and this one's a beautiful colour. I mean, pink is sharper than purple. Trust me, I know.
It turns out Gillette's women's razor was equally as sharp as the bloke's blades. But which brand was the sharpest?
The sharpest blade is the Schick Quattro.
Surprisingly, there was only 2 degrees of sharpness between the Schick and the 2 disposables. Not a lot, considering the difference in price. But which blade will stay sharp for longer? To answer this, Andrew found the hardest blade.
The hardest blade is the Schick Quattro titanium.
It wins again.
But again, there didn't appear to be a lot in it. The Schick was harder than the 2 disposables and the Gillettes by up to 6%.
The Gillette blades are the softest of our 5, and I know this is the most expensive of our 5. Am I being ripped off?
Not necessarily. This is where the coating that's on the blade comes into play.
The more expensive blades often have hard metal coatings like titanium that make them last longer.
Metallic coating is very hard wearing. The blade will hold its cutting edge for longer, and it should stay sharper for longer.
Sounds like our high-priced, high-tech blades are going to give us high performance.
The testing that I've done, we can say that the Schick and the Gillette blades will outlast the cheaper disposable blades.
But a cartridge replacement for a high-tech razor is between 3 and 27 times the cost of a disposable razor. Are the high-tech blades going to last that much longer?
That's very debatable. The more expensive blades might give a better shave, and perhaps that's where people prefer to spend their money on a better shave rather than a cheaper shave.
Okay, so we've looked at the blades, but what about all the other features on a high-tech razor? According to Gillette, the Mark III razor took 7 years and $750 million to develop, and a lot of that money was spent on features other than the blades. So does all the money spent on R&D actually improve the function of a razor? I've asked a product design team at Unitec in Auckland to go over all the features of our razors apart from the blades and rate them.
It looks a bit like a veggie peeler.
Just looks so clumsy to me.
Storage.
I'd need a bigger bathroom.
The trial razors all have pivoting heads except for one disposable.
The pivoting head on a razor has been designed to follow the contours of your face.
Huge amount of movement in that one.
Supposedly that produces a closer shave, especially in awkward areas.
The purpose of these fins on the shaving head is to help stick the hair up on your face so that when the blade then comes into contact with it, it slices it cleanly off.
They work, but do we really need this many?
No, I think they may have gone a bit overboard.
The moisturising strip is on the top of the razor and contains moisturising chemicals.
Well, let's see what it's like when it's wet, eh?
The moisturising strips certainly work, however, they are the first thing to run out.
Over the past week, the students have been testing these in the wet environs of the home bathroom.
But then look at this one. Look at it. It's gooey. You think it's going to get stuck to that.
That's horrible.
But pivoting heads, fins and moisturising strips are old hat in the razor world. The latest models feature self-soaping shaving heads and even vibrating handles.
Turn the battery on. Oh yeah.
Can't deny that it feels quite exciting, but whether it actually makes for a better shave, the jury's out on that one.
So when it comes to basic design ergonomics, which razor comes out on top?
I think this one is more curvaceous. It caters for the women's caves.
Well, surprisingly, the two women's razors won over the design team.
The Gillette Venus Spa, I think it's really good actually. I'd give that a good 8.
We found women's razors to be a little bit better than some of the men's razors because they had more lubrication in the gel strip and that the handle generally was easier to manipulate.
But seriously, would any red-blooded male be seen hovering over a basin holding one of these?
Not really sure this would be right. Do you want to shave with that?
Putting all the features aside and the hardness and sharpness measurements, let's get down to what's really important. Which razor gives the smoothest shave?
Remember our shaver trial with ballroom dancers? We asked 8 guys to trial razors with a varying number of blades, from simple 2-blade disposables to 3, 4 and 5-blade razors. So which smooth chins have the girls taken a shine to? There is a clear winner, and it's not the 5-blade or the 4. The 3-blade shavers have been voted the smoothest. Which is a bit surprised given all the advertising hype around more blades producing a smoother shave.
So I've looked at shaving foams and razors, but what about after the shave and the use of shaving lotions? I mean, they smell nice, but what's really in them?
We use them in the belief that they soothe the skin after the razor blade has scraped away layers of the skin.
I think when you're shaving, especially if you're trying to create a close shave, a lot of what you end up with on your razor blade is not actually just pure hair, but a lot of it is skin.
By removing some of the outer layer of skin, shaving exposes the tender layers underneath, which can make the skin look inflamed.
The redness that you get is a healing response. It's like you get in any kind of wound.
So do aftershaves help to reduce that inflammation and any irritation? Well, it seems to depend on which type of aftershave you use. There are 2 types, alcoholic and alcohol-free. Alcohol is a very good solvent for dissolving fragrances in.
It evaporates very quickly, leaving behind the perfume fragrance on your skin.
But one problem with alcohol is it soaks up heat from the skin, causing an unpleasant burning sensation. So to balance this effect, aftershaves can contain chemicals like menthol and camphor.
And these compounds actually act on the skin by causing the cold receptors to be responsive, and that's what gives that cooling effect in using an aftershave.
These are all little things that can improve the feeling after shaving, but do alcoholic aftershaves actually soothe and improve the condition of skin?
They're more for fragrance rather than creating any benefit to the skin itself. In fact, they probably can create a little bit of damage to the skin because they're alcohol-based, they're drying.
If you are sensitive to alcohol in cosmetics, there are aftershave balms that are alcohol-free. These typically have the consistency of a moisturiser. Some contain allantoin. Allantoin is found in the herb comfrey and in the urine of cows and most mammals.
Now that may sound pretty gross, but components that are included in cosmetics are actually made in a laboratory, so it's perfectly safe to use those.
Aftershave balms also contain oils and waxes, which can form a protective layer on the skin.
That will just help the repair process and prevent further damage during the day from the skin being dried out.
After the break, depilatory creams dissolve hair away, but can they harm our skin? I've been investigating shaving products, from soaps and foams to razors to aftershaves. But of course, shaving isn't the only way to remove unwanted hair. Waxing is a common method of hair removal, and it's not just the women. More and more men are removing their hair this way.
After waxing, I wouldn't expect it to grow back for 2 to 3 weeks, maybe longer. Shaving is different because it probably grows back in a week.
So this is a wax formulation. It contains a range of compounds that are extremely sticky, so they will stick to the hair so that you can then physically pull it out from the hair follicle.
The compounds in waxing products are very similar to beeswax and won't cause any harm. But what about the process of ripping out the hair?
As the waxing tape is peeled back, you're obviously not only going to get damage to the hair or the pull out of the hair, but there's quite a lot of trauma involved in the skin itself.
So can waxing do any long-term damage?
Skin repairs itself very quickly, and so as long as you're not waxing too frequently, then there's plenty of time for the skin to repair and regenerate.
Waxing removes hair from the root, but the follicle remains intact, so hair returns. But will it grow back faster or thicker or thinner than before?
There's no evidence that waxing will make regrowth happen more quickly. Again, the hair is going to grow back at the same rate that it's always grown back.
In fact, it's a myth that shaving or waxing or any other type of hair removal will make hair grow back thicker or faster.
I think men look good with all their hair on. I think they look very nice with it off.
I wouldn't go for a hairy man.
Wouldn't you?
No.
Why not?
Imagine running your arms up his back and all that hair on it. If I saw the hairy back, I would be turned off. It'd be ta-ta.
Another popular method of hair removal is using a depilatory cream. If used properly, they're painless and work by turning the hair into a jelly-like mass that can be wiped away, a similar action to putting polystyrene foam into nail polish remover or acetone.
It turns very much into a gooey mess, very much like what would happen to the hair shaft when hair removing cream is applied to it.
So why does something strong enough to dissolve hair not dissolve our skin?
The way that depilatory creams work is that they contain a chemical that reacts with the protein that makes up the hair shaft, but is not found in skin.
Those chemicals are called thioglycolates. Trouble is, thioglycolates in depilatory creams can cause a nasty red and irritating skin reaction.
Depilatory creams are usually well tolerated by most people, but there are some people who will get reactions whenever they use them.
Okay, a thioglycolate reaction isn't common, but some people may also be sensitive to the calcium and sodium hydroxides commonly found in depilatory creams. These chemicals, particularly sodium hydroxide, can be harmful in high concentrations. It's used in some paint strippers and oven cleaners.
It is very corrosive, but the quantity present in depilatory creams is insufficient to cause severe damage to the skin if you don't leave it on for long periods of time.
Because of the possible reaction to thioglycolates and hydroxides, the instructions on all of these products indicate they're not to be used on the face or near the eyes, and suggest doing a test patch 24 hours before extensive use. And again, like shaving, the hair will eventually grow back. So what have I learnt about shaving and hair removal products? Well, none of the shaving preparations we looked at contained any alarming ingredients, so it comes down to personal preference. Alcoholic aftershaves don't improve the skin, they just make you smell nice. In fact, a lotion that moisturises would be kinder to the skin. I'll be doing a patch test 24 hours before using a depilatory cream. As for razors, it's a bit like choosing a car. Disposable razors offer an economical and comfortable ride, but you might just want to treat yourself to one that looks and sounds more like a sports car.